Hey everyone, this is Crystal, and this is my best friend Pepa. And Pepa and I have been best friends since we were 12 years old. And I promised Pepa I wouldn't tell you how many years ago that was, but it was a few decades. We're at her house in northern Denver, Westminster to be exact. And I have asked Pepa, she read the manuscript of my first book, Hope is a Butterfly, If You Don't Squish the Caterpillar, and I have actually asked her to translate it into Spanish. So I first want for you to get to know who Pepa is and a little bit about her. So tell us about yourself, Pepa.
Okay, so I'm a school teacher. I've taught for many, many years, and I taught kinder through fourth grade in my classroom, my own classroom. And the last few years, almost 2 decades, I've been focusing on the area of reading. So I'm a reading interventionist, and I work with kids who struggle with reading, and that's my focus for now.
Okay, great. So, Pepa, I wrote this story, and I don't work with children. Most of my career has been grown-ups and teenagers. And I wrote this story just thinking, this would be a fun story if I was a kid. And not really hoping that it would resonate with children. And I shared the manuscript with you a few months ago. And your daughters, how old are your daughters?
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Of course I knew that, but I needed you guys to know that. So they're 9 and 10. And so when you read the manuscript to the girls, how did that resonate with all of you?
So we loved it. We enjoyed it. It was one of those just cozy, connecting mother and daughters together. And we love the story. It's engaging, it's funny, and it has great lessons. So not only did we have fun with the story and enjoying reading the book, we actually were able to go deeper and have deep conversations about the book and the text.
Great. So my vision in creating this book was for grown-ups, whether you're a babysitter or a grandparent or kind of an auntie like me, to read a story and just have a fun time with children, ages 4 to 11. And also to have this be a book that could be used in the classroom setting for learning, like teaching kids specific lessons. There's a little lesson about the environment. That's not the focus of the book, but then also a lot of other types of lessons that I was hoping kids could glean from the book. Did that come through?
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the things that I definitely will be recommending it to my colleagues. Because the schools right now, we're having a greater focus on social emotional skills, especially with everything's going on, with pandemic, the social aspect of our world. So I think that was the greatest focus for me as a teacher. The lessons it could deliver was the social emotional skills that could be taught through the book.
Great. So without doing too many spoiler alerts, reading the book is there, and I'm going to have you kind of think on the spot, and it's okay if you need a moment to think about it, but in the different lessons, because the book, if you guys order the book, which I hope you do, it's layers of lessons.
Yes.
And so you may read the book once, and a specific lesson or message may really resonate with you. And then you might read it again, and something else will pop up. So when you read it with you and the girls, was there 1 or 2 specific lessons that really popped up and you're like, yeah, I really like this lesson, or it really resonates with me?
Definitely. The first one I think that we talked more about was the being non-judgmental. So really learning to accept others for who they are and celebrating differences. And I think that's definitely what kind of was the first global one that we got from that book, and I think that I would use as a teacher. The main one. Another one is how to support your friends. What does supporting your friend look like? It's kind of like the story, teach someone to fish. What is that saying?
What is the saying?
Yes.
Something about you can feed people or teach them how to fish.
Yeah, teach them to, yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of the story, to have those conversations with kids. What does it look like to be a good friend? What does it look like to support someone? Like, how much support do you provide? How much support is actually helpful? And so I think those are two of the main stories that I can think about. And then maybe the third one would be the environmental aspect.
Perfect. So. Yeah, I know working with teenagers, a lot of what the teenagers would come to me with is they would be so distraught because their best friend may be dating someone that is not a good fit. We've kind of went through that before as friends, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And our tendency is don't do that.
Yeah.
Or let me solve your problem. You're upset. I want to come in and make everything better. Or that guy that you're dating, Pepa, I'm going to go beat him up for you and tell him to leave you alone. And that's not helpful. It's like, it's our tendency to try to solve things for people that we care about.
To save them.
To save them, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's much better to not watch them struggle, but to be with them while they're struggling and to just know that, hey, I've got you.
Right, and guide them through the struggle.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was important for me is wanting to make this book available in Spanish. And I reached out to Pepa. Pepa teaches... You have taught English as a second language?
So I'm also a bilingual teacher. So I've worked in Boulder. Most of my career has been in Boulder and in both bilingual schools. So I've always been a bilingual teacher. So we work with kids who are bilingual, children who their first language is Spanish and they're learning English, and students who who want to learn Spanish. So we're a dual language school. So both of the students, a group of students, become proficient in both languages and literate in both languages.
So does that mean if I don't speak any Spanish, but I want my kids to speak Spanish, they could go to your school and they would learn in both languages at the same time?
Exactly. So they learn they're bicultural, biliterate. Exactly.
That's excellent. So as I was thinking, I want my book in Spanish. Of course, I love languages. Mm-hmm. I am not fluent in any language, but I love language. And when I said, hey, Pepa, I want my book in Spanish. No, I think actually, I'll rewind. This was when I gave the manuscript at the very beginning, months and months and months ago. You said to me, I have the email, I will translate this in Spanish.
Yes.
Why is that important for you?
Well, there's many resources in English because the 5 major speaking English countries are the ones who are publishing lots and lots and lots of children books. And there are many books in Spanish for our Spanish speaking children, or even for our students who are becoming bilingual, learning Spanish as well. And the story was so good that, in the early levels, I work only in Spanish. In 3rd grade and above, I work with kids in English. So when I'm doing a lesson and I want to bring that book, I want to have access to it. I don't want to be holding the book and translating it in the spot in the moment. But for me personally, I want my students' parents whose first language is Spanish to have access to that book as well. I want that rich language and great, fantastic story to be available in Spanish for all of the students that I work with.
And is there an element, I'm an English speaker, English is your second language. Is there something on a deeper level of a feeling of inclusivity when you can pick up a book and it's in your first language?
Yes. And another thing also about the book, that as you said, inclusivity, my girls were able to see themselves in that book.
Really?
In that story.
Oh.
So I think about inclusivity, when you're inclusive, it's like, I want to be able to see someone that looks like me on the book, and that's, you also have that. So it's not
with the other with Samantha's friends.
Exactly, with the characters in the story. So the content that we've already talked about, the lessons that we can glean from them, and then also the illustrations, the beautiful illustrations. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Like there's just that inclusivity, because I remember growing up, I never thought anything about it. I had my little Barbies, and I was the youngest one in the neighborhood. And so, being the youngest in the neighborhood, I always got the Barbie that was half bald. Because the big kids got the pretty Barbie. But all of the Barbies were blonde, right? And I remember when we were very young, you expressing how disappointing it was that there wasn't dolls and Barbies that looked like you.
Right, exactly. And even when I had my girls, that was my first thing, that I made sure that most of their dolls look like them, and a few of them, that we got at yard sales, that I didn't have to pay a lot of money, because when you go to yard sales, you don't see those. You mostly see the blonde Barbies or stuff like that, or like secondhand stores. But yeah, it's like buying really quality dolls where the kids can see themselves, and that's the same. So it's like the content and also the illustrations the kids can be able to connect to.
Okay, so Hope is a Butterfly, If You Don't Squish the Caterpillar is the first in my Crystal and Vibes book series. The second book is called Braveheart Gracie and the Vacuum Monster. And
I can't wait for that one.
have you read the manuscript?
Yes.
You have? Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, that's right. You did read the manuscript because you wanted it for your nephew.
Yes.
Yeah, so that one is all about teaching how to move through fear, real fear, which saves your life. If a bus is coming towards you, you want to jump out of the way, versus fear that we have that holds us back from doing something that could help us. And then Hope lists with a slash mark through the list in the rain about being in situations where we don't really like the situation, but we can't really do anything at the moment to change it. Those are the first three, and there's going to be many more books to follow. What would you like to see in a book? We talked about diversity and like what kind of character or issue or storyline as a teacher and a mother of children that are brown, right? Mm-hmm. That of color. What would you like to see?
That's a good question. I think real life issues, and I think like the vacuum one. What's the title again?
Braveheart Grace and the Vacuum Monster.
Because that one, I'm gonna buy it for my nephew right away. So stories like that of what kids are struggling with, and also celebrations of their differences. So not just struggles, but celebrations of how celebrate being different, and how it's beautiful to be different, and it's not a deficit but an asset.
Great. Any messages you want to say?
No, I can't. Well, any message?
Nothing.
I do, but right now I probably can't think of it. Nothing.
Pepa and I haven't seen each other in 5 years.
I know,
right?
So we've been catching up.
You would think that there'd be awkward silence, but there's not awkward silence at all, right?
Oh, there could never be silence between us. Yeah, never. Yeah.
All right. So I'm just so excited that I was here with my best friend Pepa and here with you. And so when you see the book in Spanish, this is the brains behind the translations, because translating, for those of you that don't really know translating word for word to go into Google Translate doesn't always deliver the message. Right. So when you're translating a book or a poem or anything like that, it's really trying to figure out how to construct the sentences and the words, so it keeps the nuances and the underlying meanings the same in a completely other language. So you got your work cut out for you.
Well, I also have resources, so I'm going to do as much as I can, and I'm going to reach out to my friends. So if I haven't called you by then, I'll be calling you.
You're going to get a phone call.
So I do have something. Message.
Yes.
You said you have something to say. I think get this book, either in English or Spanish, because not only do the kids need it, we also need it as adults. So like I said, it was a great lesson for my girls, but it was a lesson for me as well. Something to reflect upon.
Okay, and that's interesting that you said that. I shared the manuscript with a colleague of mine, and she's a social worker, and she's been around for Melinda. I will not say how long you've been around for. You know Melinda.
Yes.
Melinda's the mother of one of our high school classmates, and she said to me, because we've worked so many years with parents as well, it's like, this is a book that the parents will also get from it. So sometimes we learn things we don't even know we're going to learn them, right? So what lesson did you get from it?
The main one of it being judgmental, which that's my greatest struggle in life since I was in high school.
I remember.
I'm getting better.
You're so judgmental, remember?
Yeah. Well, I still hear it from my sisters, but that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, well, we all got stuff to work on, that's for sure. So. Well, anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Pepa, and have a wonderful day. And bye. I think we might go hiking or something in Colorado now, right?
Yes. Go enjoy the outdoors.